Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode here on my Challenge Your Norm podcast. Today, I've got a little bit of a special episode for you because I was interviewed by my friend Jenny on her Artists Rising podcast, and she dug into my journey as an artist, starting off with being a dancer and having a ton of limiting beliefs as to what was possible in my life, to moving to Copenhagen, taking a dance education there, my first trip to Los Angeles, and then the whole process of how I got my work visa and how that entire process, what that process looked like for me. We dig into my entire journey of getting into self-development, my fear of judgment, and how I overcame that in order for me to start the career that I have today, where I post online, and how I try my best to balance everything that I have going on, where I get into my morning routine, how I create content, and try my best to give a little bit of advice on anyone who wants to start creating their own content, who wants to share a message, and how to go about that, or at least the things that have helped me on that journey of doing that. And because this interview was happening in January, right after my 30-day challenge, where every single day of December, I had uploaded a video sharing an experience I had had that day where I tried something new, and I had tried to set up this challenge in order to help other people grow and get out of their comfort zone, but how I realized that maybe this wasn't the right way to go about that, but how I really learned a lot from that experience. So I'm really excited to share this with you. And something that I find really interesting to pay attention to is how in the beginning I'm fumbling more with my words. I am saying more and as the conversation goes on, I get more comfortable in that conversation. And I just think that that was a really cool little reminder that the more we get interviewed, the more we do things that maybe are new to us, the more comfortable we get. And so I've been interviewed a lot since this interview, and I'm hoping that the more I do it, the more comfortable I get it, and the better I can get at like getting right into feeling comfortable right away, sharing my story, talking on camera or on a podcast like this. And I'm just hoping that that encourages you, regardless of where you're at, if you're trying something new, just reminding ourselves that the more we do it, the more we get outside of our comfort zone or speak about things that we maybe haven't before, doing things that we maybe aren't so used to doing, the more we do it, the better we will get at it, the more comfortable, the more confident we're going to get within that new thing. So I just thought that was something fun to hear in my voice as we go about this conversation. So I just thought I wanted to share that with you. But without further ado, let's get into it. Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and perspective at a time.
Pernilla, welcome to Artists Rising. I'm so happy that you're here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I always love to start out the episodes just by asking people to tell their story a little bit and what brought you to the place that you are now and all the beautiful, inspiring things that you're putting out into the world. Where did Pernilla begin?
Oh, I love that question. I am from Denmark originally, and I grew up having limiting beliefs in what I was capable of doing. And really, when we grow up in one place, then we think that that is how the entire world is. And so I put myself in this box of this is what I can do and this is what I cannot do. And then slowly as I grew older and social media started coming up, and I would see, I danced when I grew up. And I never thought it would be possible for me to become a dancer. Like that was not something I thought really would be possible. Yes, I knew I could like start a dance studio, but I didn't think I could, pursue it as a career in like a background dancer sense. And so when I started watching these dancers from the US, I like got intrigued and I thought that was really exciting. And in high school, we did like a world's championship in Las Vegas, and that was the first time that I got to experience that world, and I just loved it so much. So when I was done with high school, I challenged myself and moved away from my hometown to the capital city in Denmark, and my world opened up a little bit more as to these dancers in Copenhagen, which is the capital of Denmark, actually doing this as a career. And that was really exciting to me. And some of these dancers had actually gone to LA for months at a time and experienced what that was like. And that made me want to give that a try. So when I was done with this dance education that I took for a year in Copenhagen, I decided to go to Los Angeles for 6 months and give that a try. And I came here and I still had this low self-esteem as to what I was capable of. But meeting so many dancers who, believed a little bit bigger, seeing them actually get these jobs and it being a possibility, I started to dream and think, oh my goodness, what if this was possible for me? And years later, little by little, I ended up getting a work visa as I started to believe in myself. And through those years that it took me to get that work visa, I got really into self-development and growing my mind. First, I started off to change my belief set about what I could do as a dancer. But what I realized is that this could be used in all areas of my life. So I used it to take control of my body within my fitness routine and my diet and just all other areas of my life. This changing these limiting beliefs that I had into what if I believed that I could? What if I believed that I was this person that was capable of doing these things that I deep down always kind of desired and wanted, but I never really thought was possible for someone like me. It was possible for other people. And that became, dance used to be, that was like my big passion. And that's what started this whole journey of growth and self-development. But what I realized when I got into self-development more and more and more, I realized, wow, this is changing my entire life. And I want to share that with other people so that they can change their life too. Because it's so, you don't think that there's another way to live other than what you currently are living. And when you open your mind into realizing what is possible for your life, but also what's just possible within your mind and your home, your body, your home for life, then it's just, you free yourself. And that to me was just so powerful and I loved it. And I just decided I want to spend my life helping others go through this journey and transition into creating whatever life it is that they deep down want. And so that's what's got me to what I do today with content creation and trying my best to help people develop more useful mindsets to align, or at least like aligned mindsets with what they actually want for their life.
Amazing. I love that so much. I love it. And it's so beautiful too. Whenever I see you dancing in your videos on social media, on Instagram and stuff, like I can tell how passionate you are about it. And it's like the dance just erupts out of you. It's like you're such a passionate person. You bring so much joy through your videos. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I love that question. What if I believed that I could? And I'm sure that there are listeners who are young dancers or even older dancers or, musicians, painters, writers who are listening to the podcast who could benefit from learning a little bit more about how you were able to actually fully step into that mindset
Mm.
Do you have any
It's
tips?
hard. Oh, it's so challenging, and still can be challenging.
Yeah.
But absolutely. So I like to, first of all, I want to recommend a book. It's called The Alter Ego
Cool.
Effect. I think the Alter Ego Effect, or the Alter Ego. And it is so powerful, because what I want to share, one of the things that I like to do is think of a person or someone, something that is doing the thing that we want to do. Ask ourselves, how are they feeling? What are their beliefs? What are their daily actions that make them who they are? And when we can see what they're doing and then really get very honest with ourselves and what are we currently doing, we can set the intention. No more will I live with the beliefs, the mindset, the actions that I currently am living with, because that's not what I want for my life. I want to get over here. And so if we can adapt the beliefs, the habits, the things that this other person is doing that is making them become this thing that we also deep down want for our life, then we slowly, little by little, can become more of that. And I think it's okay to copy in the beginning, to really just embody, I am whatever. If you're, I am the biggest pop star in the world, Beyonce, like actually like embody that if you're a singer, like, or even a dancer, then eventually when you've done that for a long time, it becomes more natural to you, and more, you can just relax in that more. And I believe that when we've done that for a while, we don't have to think of ourselves as Beyonce anymore. We can let go of her, and we can start to develop our own version of that. Because regardless of how much, if we just continue to embody Beyonce, we're never going to be her. So I think that the more we do that, and then we also start to, as we experience different things, we'll realize, oh, this works for her, but this other thing works for me better. And like really finding our own direction, own way. But if we can just to begin with, model that behavior and those emotions, I think something that's really been challenging for me is my self-belief. And like, for example, in dancing, there's this thing like, the routine very well that you've used the last hour or hour and a half to learn. It's in your body, it. Then the camera comes out, the video that is shot by the end of the class, and then I black out. I have in the past a lot of the time just blacked out, where it's like it makes no sense because I knew it, but what happens is that my thoughts starts happening, and that just cuts off my movement. But if I in that moment can continuously believe, embody that I am, let's say Beyonce, then I won't have those limiting beliefs, those fearful thoughts that start coming up in that moment. So that's one that really has been useful for me. And it's a continuous practice. It's not something that you can just snap your fingers. Actually, you can snap your fingers and do it maybe in the moment when you're excited about it, inspired. But then if you don't continuously practice that, you're going to go back into your old patterns. So it's like you can build on top of it and make sure to practice to stay on it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I have read that book and it is so good. And I don't remember if it's in the book or if I was hearing an interview with someone talking about it, but Beyonce herself has the alter ego of Sasha Fierce.
He does say that in the book. Yes, he does share that. Yeah, so that's why I brought her up, because
it's so encouraging.
Yeah, it is. Sasha Fierce.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a great example to think, to think about her creating Sasha Fierce and sort of stepping into that powerful alter ego that she really created for herself, and that we all can create those alter egos, too. And this idea, like you said, of practicing the feeling, stepping into that, making it a habit, asking, what would this person be feeling? What would this person be doing? That kind of thing. It's so powerful. I was listening to a podcast the other day that used the example of people winning the lottery. When people win the lottery, they don't even like necessarily have the money in their bank account yet, but they're thrilled. You know what I mean? Like they're so excited and they're believing, really believe, like their whole, everything changes in a moment. And so it's so interesting to think like, gosh, what would they be thinking in that moment that would make them feel so free? And to then start to ask ourselves, like, what would make us the most happy? And then start to really think about why we would be happy in that moment and why we would start to actually, and then to start to practice those thoughts and actually like even play pretend a little bit. Like,
oh, yes.
Do you ever do that?
I do often. Yeah. I love doing that. First of all, it just gets us into a great mood. So, but also there's this, law of attraction really where it's, if we just believe that we're already there, first of all, we feel really good, but we're also going to attract it into our life if we can actually just believe we're there. Yeah. That's why athletes, and I'm sure singers as well, visualize and see, okay, what is it gonna feel like? And there's, oh my goodness, millions of stories of how people visualizing something and then that coming into their existence, becoming their reality later on, because law of attraction it's a law. It's a real thing. It's so powerful.
Yes.
And so, yeah. And if we just imagine we're there already, then everything's good. Then it's challenging, especially if we're in a place where we feel in lack, we feel like things aren't working out. But oh my goodness, if we just take a walk in nature, we move our body, we sing, we dance, we do something that makes us feel good, and we then just pretend and imagine that we're already there. Oh, yeah. It'll snap you out of that negative energy state.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, singing and dancing are two of the best ways to manifest, I think, because singing and dancing and writing, really anything creative, those things really help us tap into our feelings. And so that feeling vibration starts to kind of take over, so exciting. I love talking about these kinds of things. So tell us more about your story, because you did your 6 months in LA.
Yes.
And then what happened?
I did my 6 months in LA, and then I was like, oh my goodness, I want another 6 months. And I visualized that. So I had to leave America because I'd gotten a 6 months visa, which is even like big to get that, because oftentimes you can only stay in the States for 3 months. But I got it for 6 months. I loved it. I'd started to I read a self-development book by the end of those 6 months that like made you set goals. And once I had set those goals, it was like magic, because all these little different things started to happen. I started to get connections and really develop my skills as a dancer. And that just got me really like, oh my goodness, I need another 6 months so that I can, hopefully get everything I would need in order for me to eventually get a work visa. Mm-hmm. And so I had to leave America. And then after a month, I was in Denmark. I was like, I had planned this before I left, but I was like, I need to get another 6 months. Usually they don't allow you back into the country for 6 months, but I visualized me going through those borders, being confident, just it being incredible. My mom, she's a psychologist and has a lot of different certificates, and so she can also hypnotize. And so she even like took me through a hypnotization thing where I visualize just going straight through it, being in like them just being like, oh yes, of course you can. And of course I had saved up money, so I was able to prove that I could take care of myself for another 6 months. And so I took the chance. I didn't know if they were going to just send me back or straight back with a plane, but they let me through. And then I came back, and at that point I had lived at a place called Home for Dancers, which is like a hostel for a lot of dancers. So I'd met a lot of awesome other dancers from all around the world, and it was really cool. And some of the girls decided to get an apartment. And so I got to stay in one of the girls' room on an air mattress. And at some point, there was also another girl living on that air mattress because, yes, I had saved up money, but I was broke and living on ramen, air mattress, and just walking everywhere because I definitely didn't have a car, and I didn't even want to spend money on a bus. I just was grateful to be able to be in America and dance every day. And after those 6 months, then I got a lawyer. I started to figure out, okay, I would need an agent to sponsor me. I would need to get some more things on my resume, because every lawyer I talked to was like, sorry, but it's just not possible for you to get a work visa because you just don't have the things you need. And, you know, you can take that as okay, then I guess I'm going to go home to Denmark for a few years and, you know, save up more money and get some dance jobs and stuff. But I was like, no, I'm making this happen as quick as possible. So I messaged and submitted and just asked every human being that I knew if, you know, told them about my situation. I mean, I didn't bother. I tried to not bother them, just like in a quick little way. Just so you know, I'm really looking for a job abroad so that I can build up my resume and like things like that. And eventually, after months of that, and I still had like another few weeks in the US, I got a job in China where I could travel with different artists there and perform as a background dancer. And that ended up being 4 months of really, first of all, awesome experiences, but it also got me all the things that I would need for my resume for the US visa. I came back to LA for another 4 months. And in those 4 months, I got an agent and I got all the referrals and stuff like that so that I got my visa. And the reason I wanted to share this is because if anyone has gotten a no, like I did from all these lawyers, that it's just not possible. I'm sorry, I don't see it for you. That there is always a way. If you're just willing to think outside of the box and do whatever it takes, there's always a way. So yeah, so I ended up getting the work visa, and then I moved to the US, and I loved it.
Yeah. Amazing. I love that story. So inspiring. So when did you start to actually then start creating all of this content and branding yourself the way that you have? Because you're like a pro at that now.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I started off dancing while I was here when I had my work visa. And then I kind of did some fun modeling on the side, just when it was dance related. And I really loved it. And I, at the same time, simultaneously had always wanted I'm really practicing saying that word correctly.
That's a tricky one.
Simultaneously. I'm almost there. Okay, I'll keep practicing. But I always wanted to get in badass shape, and I'd also wanted to become a badass fitness model. Like that was like something I'd always wanted to do. And at one point, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm getting in the best shape of my entire life. And that was hard, but as in changing my habits, but it was also not hard, because when you commit to something and you're just like, there's no way out, because either this is happening now or it's never going to happen. So I committed, I got in really good shape, and I thought I did this, to look good, become a model and all this stuff. But what I realized and what I connected to during that process was just this inner strength and self-belief that I'd never experienced before. on like a whole other level, because when you challenge yourself every single day, you realize what you're capable of. And we can challenge ourselves in different ways. My version of a challenge was just these really intense workouts and being very disciplined with my diet. And that just gave me a whole other level of self-discipline and self-belief. And it changed my whole mentality and gave me so much new joy in life. Because when you lack self-esteem and self-confidence, like I've always done, it holds you back with so many areas that you're not even aware of. But once you believe in yourself more and you dare to take more action, and just be okay with who you are, because you're really connected with yourself on that level. Of course, I do journaling and meditation and things like that as well. So all that therapy, like all that is important as well. But for me, it was like a next level kind of connection with myself. And it just gave me so much joy. And
Amazing.
I realized like I want to spend my life helping others experience this, because you don't know what you're missing out on if you don't. And it doesn't have to be fitness. It can be anything that's challenging that is aligned with where you want to be in life. My version was just fitness. And so after a year, I'd been listening to these podcasts, following these people who share workouts online, who are a little motivational. And I kind of wanted to do it, but I was way too scared, because my fear of judgment has always been very strong. And at that time, it was like, especially like, what are people back home going to think if I start an Instagram where I share workout videos and I try to do things? Because this voice inside of me was like, who do I think I am? Like, people are going to think like, who does she think she is so I had these limiting beliefs for so long, but eventually, just like when I wanted to get in shape, I was like, no more, I'm going to commit. So I committed to making an Instagram, posting every single day. And then my following grew, and I could tell, okay, people are actually enjoying this. It's useful for them. And so I started a YouTube channel, and then I started a TikTok, and then last year is when I started my podcast. But so it was like this slow little progress of starting these things. First of all, letting go of the fear. Like, why am I actually not doing this? Is it because of if someone out there is like been wanting to start something? Like, ask yourself, first of all, be real. Like, why am I not starting this? And then, okay, it's the fear of what other people are going to think. What it was for me, it may not be for anyone else. It could be for all sorts of kinds of reasons. Maybe it's laziness. Maybe it's just because you think you're not able to bring enough value, whatever. Get real with yourself. Why is it that I haven't started this? And question, is that actually a good enough reason for me to not start this? And if it is, cool. Now you don't have to battle with yourself anymore. But if it's not, I think that may kickstart you to actually go for it. And then I guess I've just been doing, you said that you liked my stuff. I think it's because I've just been doing it for so long, and I'm someone who loves growing. Growth is my core value. And so I just want to always get better at it and do it in more exciting ways, because sometimes like self-development things or fitness things, it can be boring. But if you can combine both the entertainment aspect, which is fun, with a little bit of value, then I think you can reach a wider audience. I have realized though, it can come with a cost if you go too much in either direction. Last year, I experimented a lot, and I took a ton of YouTube courses, which were very focused on the entertainment aspect. But what I realized is that it didn't bring as much value. So now I'm kind of going back, taking a few steps backwards. I think it's important to experiment, because sometimes when we experiment, miracles happen. But sometimes we experiment and we realize, ooh, that was a little off the mission. It was a little off in the wrong direction, and then to take steps back or go in a different direction. But yeah, it's kind of trial and error when it comes to content creation. Plus, everything's changing constantly right now. So you got to just try a bunch of things, see what sticks, what works, and then learn from them, learn from it all. Yeah.
So good. I love how you talking about self-discipline and just really getting into the technical side, really, of taking care of your body, also made you feel like you could believe in yourself more. And one of the reasons, really, why I started Artists Rising kind of has to do with this idea of creative wholeness and really balancing the different, like almost like body, soul, spirit, technical, creative, and psychological, and really cultivating really a whole bunch of different things so that you're sort of supporting your growth, supporting yourself as a whole, physically, emotionally, mentally, and creatively, so that you can then really have a greater capacity to do good creative work, you know? Yeah. And I feel like this connection that you talk about with, you know, when you're working on the discipline, it feeds into actually the psychological part. Like it helps you believe more in yourself, and like they all come together. And I feel like you are one of the people that sticks out to me in the realm of all the people that I follow that really is you are creating your best life in a whole bunch of areas. Like you are so passionate about personal growth, so passionate about fitness, dance, creativity, growing your mindset, all these different areas. And it's so inspiring. And I'm curious what you would say about how you balance it all, because I know it's not easy because I know you're thinking about all those different areas. And so what are some tips that you have for people that are trying to balance and trying to cultivate a lot of different areas for their own well-being? How do you manage that?
Thank you, first of all. And a lot of different things come into mind. First thing is that I started off with one thing. And then when I had that nailed down, then I could add another thing. And then I had those two kind of nailed down, and I could add a third thing. Adding that third thing may mean that the first thing doesn't get as much attention as it used to, but that I make sure as I'm evolving that the things that I'm doing are aligned with the direction I want to go in. Mm-hmm. And that in itself is a challenge to figure out, because for me, I've given up a lot on the dancing I used to do, and just coming to this realization that so I used to always think that dance was my one and only thing. It's my first love, which I still love dancing, but being really honest with myself that dance doesn't fulfill me as much as this other thing. If I were to do that just full time, only this, like all, go all in on that as this other thing. But there's these like fears of, well, am I giving up on dance? Like, is this really like I moved to LA to dance? But really being honest with myself, asking like, what do I want? Not because of what other people are going to think of me, not because of what I used to think that I wanted. Like really at this time in my life, what's going to bring me the absolute most joy? Mm-hmm. And so it's been a challenge coming to that conclusion that my mission in life, which is to help people reach their goals and live a better life, the excitement I get from that just is higher than me dancing every day. But I can still dance and pursue this other thing. And then it's about, okay, maybe I don't dance 5 hours every single day, but maybe I take a few dance classes a week and it's still bringing me as much joy. But I try to navigate, okay, how can I balance the two? And with that, I want to say how I think about this is during my morning routine. My morning routine has been if I don't do my morning routine, I'm not me. It makes me who I am. Because during my morning routine, that is when I get really honest and deep with myself.
Yeah.
That's when I meditate and then I journal. And during those journaling sessions, I ask myself really hard, challenging questions. What will make me the most proud of me today? What is it that I deep down want? Why am I scared of this? Why am I procrastinating that? Is it because I don't want it badly enough? Or is it because I'm fearing this and that? And really, also in the morning, I make a to-do list. So every day I get very clear on my goals. Like it depends on the day how I'm feeling. Sometimes it's like pure gratitude journaling. Sometimes it's pure goal setting. It's sometimes pure visualization. And sometimes it's these like really challenging questions. It kind of depends on the day where my headspace is at, what I need. Maybe I'm struggling with something and I just need to dig deep into that during that journaling session on that day. But that really is so useful for me because then I also make a to-do list because I gotten really clear on what I needed to in my journaling session. And then I make a to-do list. And in that morning mindset that I have during the morning, I know that I can be honest with myself in what are the things that I need to prioritize today so that I don't let the day control me, but so I take control of the day.
Yeah.
And I think that some people work better at night. So maybe for some people that's a nighttime routine and maybe making the to-do list for the day, the next day, maybe the week, the month, whatever, the night before. But having that, I think, helps us, especially in today's world with social media, just so many people trying to grab our attentions and having different needs. It helps us stay on track on what do I want to prioritize. And we have a lot of hours in the day. And if we use them well, we can actually get a lot done in a day, a lot more than we think.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Do you usually do your meditation and journaling first thing, or do you do your workout and then or do you mix it up?
No, I do. I always do meditation and journaling first thing, and then I work out. I actually even started, now I do intermittent fasting. Just because I was at this Bali retreat and I knew that that's when my body has felt really, really good because I allow it time to digest. So I still eat this. For anyone who doesn't know intermittent fasting, like my family at one point were scared that I then would, lose weight or something. But I eat the same amount of food. I just do it in a shorter period of time. So it's just allowing my body to, there's a lot of benefits and that people can look into it if it's something they're interested in. But so now I have many more hours in the morning till I eat. So I actually like working out, so I don't have too much time between my workout and when I eat. So I do my morning meditation, journaling, and then sometimes I'll record a podcast because that's when my mind is really great.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll edit a YouTube video that needs maybe a lot of creativity. Let's say I was writing an ebook at that time, then that's when I would do that because my mind is in such a creative space during the morning, and especially because it's right after my journaling session. Yes. So I would say do your most creative work. I know there's a lot of creatives that are listening to this podcast, but doing that first thing in the morning, it's as if you're connected to.
Yeah. You're in the flow. Yeah. Totally. Yes.
Yeah. Do you feel that too?
Oh, absolutely. It's absolutely my favorite time of the day, to be honest. Yeah. So great. And for those people listening, because I know there are a lot of artists who have a lot of fear about getting started in social media and putting themselves out there. They wrestle with the same limiting belief that you mentioned earlier, what is valuable that I have to share kind of thing. And so what advice would you have for people who are wanting to create a platform and use their art to inspire others? Yeah.
And I can relate to that because that's how I felt for a long time and sometimes still feel. I think it's always, we always are going to be battling with that. I even, most successful people share that they battle with that. But what I always come back to that helps me so much is talking to either my younger self, and for me, also talking to myself that had decided to stay in Denmark because she was too afraid of making the move to the US.
Ooh, that's interesting. I like that.
Because what would she have needed? And I know what she would have needed, because now I went through this growth journey. I know what my younger self would have needed, but I also know what that version of me, so the version of you that didn't go through, actually take on that challenge to get to that next level of your life. Like, think of where you were, I don't know how many years back, and talk to that person, because you know that you'll have some good advice to talk to or share with that person. And that means that everyone has beauty to share. Everyone has something valuable for someone. It may take a little while to find the right audience, but keep going, because you will find her or him or them. Yeah.
Awesome. And I know that you are now on so many different platforms. Do you have a strategy about how you create content? Because it's such a creative thing, the way that you are creating your videos. I have been very entertained this last year, just like watching you as you have been doing different things. And you're so funny. And you're so brave to kind of put yourself out there and just be very much yourself. So I guess I have two questions.
Thank you so much for saying that.
It's really great. I really admire you so much, the way that you put yourself out there, and you're so authentic. And do you have to sort of plan out your week or your month? Do you create in bulk kind of for the month? Are you thinking about that, or is it kind of in the flow with your morning routine?
Okay, so I have been trying so many times to I'll plan out my months. This is how my Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesdays are going to go with this is when I'll create podcasts, and I've really tried, but it does not last long. But what keeps me on track is that during my morning routine, when I'm in this really good mode, I can look at, okay, sometimes maybe I'll think 2 days ahead, but usually it's on that day, which of my platforms need love today? What is either what am I in the mood to create? That's either the route I go, or what needs to get done today? Okay, if I can record a podcast and make 3 reels and edit this and whatever, email these, whatever brand deal or something, then I look at that day. Okay, if I accomplish that today, then I'll be proud of myself by the end of the day. So I feel like at one point I'll get to being more organized, but for right now and for the last however many years, that's how it's been. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you just finished a 30-day video, 30 days of video creation, right?
Yes.
How was that for you?
It was actually so you could see it as a mistake, but I saw it as a big learning lesson. Not because of the daily content creation, because I create 30 pieces of content every month easily. I make reels every day regardless.
Yeah.
But what I realized, you know how I said I'd gone more the entertainment route rather than the useful thing route? And what I realized is that the 30 days I had set as the title of doing new things. So every day I would be doing something new. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to inspire other people to try new things, because when we try new things, that's when we grow, that's when we challenge ourselves and we have fun.
Yeah.
But I realized, I think it was the way I did it, that it wasn't bringing the value, the impact that I wanted for it to. I can see you're confused. Did you like it?
I loved it. I thought it was great.
Well, that's good to hear, because it felt to me like it maybe wasn't what brought people value as I had hoped for it to. But that's good to hear that you liked it. I learned a lot. And I feel like the people like you who did like it and followed along, they did like it. but there was something that was misaligned with my mission with it.
Okay.
And that's why it was a challenge for me, because it felt like I was more entertaining rather than bringing the value. And it was really hard for me to mix the two. I feel like in some videos I did manage to do that. And that's why it's a challenge, right? Because, you know, on the days where I was really struggling with it, sometimes I still managed to get it done. So I definitely learned things from it. But after it, so I started all of this because I had a mission to help people who were dealing with certain things to get out of that. And so doing this challenge where I felt like I kind of disconnected to that, the challenge helped me learn, obviously, within the content creation and bringing a story to life in like that short amount of time that you have in like less than 60 seconds. But it also helped me be like, oh, take it back to the basics. You've gone a little bit too far off track. And I love, and I do feel like my core audience, like people who care about me as a human, liked it. But there were certain aspects of it that didn't. But I appreciate you saying that. That makes me very happy. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you're experimenting. I think that's great. And I don't know. I mean, I just heard, I don't know if you listened to Alex Hormozi's podcast, The Game.
I've listened to some of them. Yes, some of them, but not, I don't follow every week.
Anyway, I just heard a great episode where he talks about attention being the new oil. And anyway, I don't know. I think, you know, it's valuable. What you did was very valuable, and entertainment is also something of great value. So anyway, but I mean, I understand what you're saying with alignment and all of that. So
it makes me very happy to hear that, because you put a lot of stuff out there, but you don't always talk to people about it afterwards. You know, you get comments, but I get comments regardless. And so you never really know. It's more you deal with all these things yourself as an artist, right?
Yes.
You put things out and you never know how is the audience actually taking this. And you shouldn't care. But there is still like, I want to bring value. So I kind of do care, you know?
It's actually a really great question, because I think a lot of artists who are also on social media struggle with knowing how to promote themselves and also how to be visible, because it's just very vulnerable. So what you did was very brave, and you really put yourself out there. And it is like, it's hard to gauge, you know, what is valuable based on statistics and, you know, numbers that you might be looking at for various reasons, you know. And it's true. We're at the end of the day kind of dealing with it on our own usually. But yeah, what would you say for artists that, you know, want to be more visible and want to experiment with that and that place of vulnerability? Were you having to talk yourself through some things mindset wise as you were in the midst of that?
Yeah. But I have realized that my vulnerability is actually my strength. I've found that I gain the deepest amount of impact when I'm really vulnerable.
Nice.
And oftentimes the vulnerable stuff isn't what reaches the widest audience. That's definitely when I do my funny stuff. But impact wise, that is, being vulnerable is my strength. But I think people who are listening to this, when they connect with that, if they've already connected with it, will feel that is also their strongest strength. There's so much on social media that is superficial, myself included, with a lot of what I do, you know, in the sense that I don't share like my heart in every post, because that would also be too much. So there's just a lot where it's like more superficial, right? Like it's a nice picture with a nice caption or whatever, a funny reel. Right. Like, you know, there's a lot of that too, because it is entertainment. And I feel like even if we can just make someone laugh, I feel like that's impact too. But when I say that, then maybe that's not something that they go home and they reflect upon. And, you know, like, so that's what I mean when I say superficial. It's just, you know, more like, oh, it's a nice laugh and then we move on or whatever. But I think the people who dare be vulnerable, I think will will really connect with their audience on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's scary. But what I really remind myself of in that moment, that's actually really important for anyone who wants to do that, is like, do I care more about what I want other people to think of me, or do I care more about actually helping people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to help people. So whatever.
Yeah.
If someone thinks of me something, like if I can make someone get out of the rut that I've been in, every human has been in a rut in some part of it, right? Or some sort of struggle within something in their life.
Yes.
And so if I can help someone get out of that place that I was in, where it's like, for me, it was, putting myself in a box, believing I couldn't do certain things, and just like feeling miserable because I would be people pleasing constantly, so I wouldn't allow myself to be myself, and just like worrying about, oh my gosh, did I say something wrong? Now this person hates me when they really never hated me. Like all these like negative feelings that I was feeling. If I can get someone out of that, but that is for the people listening, out of that struggle, like if you can help someone with that, then isn't that worth maybe a few of your high school friends thinking of you that you're getting a little weird, whatever, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's such good advice. Okay, I have one last question because I know I want to respect your time.
I love this so much.
I am curious what you are dreaming about now and what you are envisioning for yourself now.
Oh, I love that question. I think it's important that we all have goals, because when we're growing, we're just naturally, I think, more happy. And if we have a goal, there's a higher chance that we're consciously or unconsciously moving towards that. So I want to impact 1 million people every single week with what I do.
Amazing.
And last year I was very caught up in certain metrics, like certain numbers hitting and like certain things, where this year, I set goals constantly. So it's not just because it's January, but like I've really reflected on this. Like I just want to, it doesn't matter if that ends up being through podcast or my YouTube or a mix of all the platforms I'm in. I just really wanted to help people live better lives, 1 million people, in whatever way that looks like. I think I'm just going to continue to follow what feels right in my gut. And I feel like whenever I do that, and sometimes that gets me taking the wrong turn as well. But then because I took that wrong turn, then it takes me back in the right direction. So just like really continuously listening to myself and what feels right in this moment, and then following that instinct and going out and putting it out, like taking action right away. For anyone listening, when you get an instinct to do something, do it right away, because the longer you wait, the bigger chance there is that you're never going to do it. And you never know what you're missing out on if you don't take that action. It could be like an action of sending some person an email, or taking that workout class. Like you don't know if you're going to meet your soulmate in that workout class, or if that workout class is going to inspire you to get in the best shape ever, which when you get in the best shape ever, then that's going to get you to take action on starting your own business, which is going to lead you to all these other beautiful things. Like it's often like this one little first action that can lead to a completely bettered life in so many ways. So just,
I love it.
Something I try to practice myself, and I think we all should practice. So
good. Pernilla, thank you so much. It's been such a joy to interview you and get to talk with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so fun.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. If you enjoyed this conversation and you think it could be helpful to a friend, then please share that with them. And also, if you want to support me, writing a review is massively useful for me. I'm really trying to grow my podcast this year and trying to stay consistent with uploading useful, valuable content. So that would just mean the world to me. Or give me a few stars if you have a few moments to spare. I appreciate you so much for listening. And remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm. Bye.